A yacht was about to sink in the ocean. 3 kids were frantically bailing water with buckets, but the water kept rising no matter how much they scooped out. With their lives on the line, Inha, a pampered heiress, was only worried about getting her dress wet. Instead of helping, she climbed to the top of the boat, yelling at the others, "Why are you guys so useless? Hurry up and get the water out. Why does it keep getting worse?" Gangsan, another wealthy kid, had had enough. He shot back, "You prissy little brat. We're all working ourselves to death here, and instead of helping, you're just standing there barking orders." As the yacht was about to go under, Haiju suddenly remembered there was a radio on board. She rushed inside and tried calling for help, but no one answered. Were they really going to die out here in the middle of the ocean? In desperation, they grabbed life vests and an inflatable raft, preparing to jump before the yacht went completely under. But Inha started making a scene again, crying that she didn't know how to put on a life vest. Haiju had no choice but to help the helpless princess and try to comfort her, saying they'd be rescued soon. Reality, however, was harsh. Just as Haiju was about to send a distress signal, the yacht began rocking violently. Objects started falling everywhere. Gangsan got his thigh slashed by a sickle while trying to save his best friend Chang-hee. Ignoring the pain, they threw the raft into the water and jumped in after it. The moment they hit the water, the yacht sank completely. Watching it disappear beneath the waves, the 4 of them clung to the raft, their hearts pounding. All they could do now was put their lives in fate's hands and pray for rescue. As night fell, their parents learned that the reckless kids had taken a malfunctioning yacht out to sea. They called the Coast Guard to launch a search. The tide went out overnight, and the 4 drifted farther and farther from shore. Soaking in the freezing water, exhausted and thirsty, even the injured Gangsan somehow found the energy to crack jokes. Haiju told everyone to save their strength and talk less. That's when they spotted a Coast Guard vessel. They screamed and waved desperately for help, but it was too dark. The rescue team didn't see them. When no one was found, the boat turned back. Watching their hope of rescue slip away, the group fell into despair. Then, as if fate was mocking them, a torrential downpour began. Gangsan, weakened from his injury, was barely hanging on. Haiju urged him to stay awake. If he fell asleep, he might never wake up. Somehow, they held on until morning. By then, Gangsan was at his limit, on the verge of passing out. Suddenly, a whale breached the surface. The magnificent sight gave them a small burst of energy. Meanwhile, Gangsan's grandfather had dispatched helicopters to search for them. Inha couldn't stand the hunger anymore and started drinking seawater to ease her discomfort, but it backfired. She passed out and let go of the raft. Haiju and Chang-hee used every ounce of their remaining strength to pull her back. But the moment they got Inha onto the raft, Haiju collapsed from exhaustion. She started drifting away. By the time Chang-hee noticed, she was already 20 feet out. He swam after her, but he barely had any strength left either. He couldn't bring her back. He and Haiju drifted farther and farther away together. Back on the search vessel, the Coast Guard found wreckage from the yacht. Inha's mother broke down completely. She had lost a daughter years ago and couldn't bear the thought of losing another. She begged her husband to find their daughter no matter what. Haiju's father overheard this conversation. He seemed to understand something. He was about to tell the wealthy woman that Haiju was actually her long-lost biological daughter when the Coast Guard radioed with good news. 2 children had been spotted nearby. The ones rescued were Haiju and Chang-hee, both poor kids. The 2 wealthy children were still missing. The rescued pair were severely dehydrated, unconscious, and in critical condition. They needed to get to a hospital immediately. But Inha's father, Jang Do-hyun, refused to leave. His daughter hadn't been found yet. When Haiju's father insisted on heading back, the tycoon pulled a gun and pointed it at his head. With no other choice, Haiju's father started to reveal that Haiju was actually the tycoon's biological daughter. But before he could finish, the family butler cut him off. At that moment, Haiju regained consciousness. With her last bit of strength, she told them which direction Inha and Gangsan had drifted. The Coast Guard immediately dispatched a helicopter southeast and found them floating in the sea. All 4 children were rushed to the hospital. Gangsan needed emergency surgery for his leg wound. Inha was in worse shape. Drinking all that seawater had caused a lung infection. The doctor warned that she might develop pulmonary edema. Inha's mother nearly collapsed at the news. She blamed her husband for buying that yacht. Years ago, she had already lost a daughter named Yujin, also by drowning. Jang Do-hyun tried to calm his wife, but what she didn't know was that her other daughter, Yujin, wasn't actually dead. Soon after, Haiju and Chang-hee woke up. They comforted each other, grateful just to be alive. Gangsan recovered well after surgery. The first thing he asked his grandfather was where Haiju and the others were. Relieved to hear everyone was safe, he relaxed. Only Inha remained unconscious. Seeing her daughter unresponsive, the wealthy mother cried alone outside the room. Haiju, about to be discharged, came to check on Inha. When the mother learned that Haiju was the one who had steered the yacht into open water, she slapped her hard across the face. She cursed Haiju, saying her daughter was unlucky to have ever met her, and told her to stay away from Inha forever. Haiju's father watched from a distance, heartbroken. He wanted so badly to tell the woman that Haiju was her own daughter who had drowned years ago. But the butler had warned him, if the truth came out, they would both end up dead. So he stayed silent. Chang-hee saw the handprint on Haiju's face and learned that the wealthy woman had hit her. He wanted to set the record straight, that it wasn't wasn't Haiju's fault, that Inha had pressured her into driving the yacht, but Haiju stopped him. Mature beyond her years, she felt that with Inha still unconscious, speaking up would only hurt the mother more. She said she'd forget about it soon and wouldn't let it affect her mood. Chang He's heart ached for this kind, selfless girl. Soon Haiju was discharged. Her father had barely gotten her settled into bed when her stepmother called him into the other room. Instead of showing any concern for Haiju, the woman blamed her for the trouble and said Haiju wasn't really their child anyway. She wanted to give her away. Haiju overheard everything outside the door. Her father stormed out and found her there. Devastated, Haiju ran off. Learning that the woman she had called Mom for over a decade wasn't her real mother left her overwhelmed with emotion. Her father caught up and tried to comfort her. Haiju asked who her real mother was. Though he desperately wanted to tell her, the butler had forced him to keep the secret. For Haiju's safety, he chose to stay silent once again. Meanwhile, the butler and his son Chang-hee were discharged and returned to the wealthy family's estate, where Chang-hee was beaten by the young master, Il-mun. Il-mun blamed Chang-hee for his sister's condition, insisting that as a servant, it was his job to protect the family. He warned that if anything happened to Inha, Chang-hee would pay. The next day, Chang-hee went to a hilltop to vent his pain and found Haiju there, looking just as troubled. She noticed the wound on his lip and asked what happened. He lied and said he'd tripped. They started talking about their lives. When Haiju learned that Chang-hee had been abandoned by his mother as a child, she told him about discovering that her own mother wasn't her biological mom. Though she wanted to know who her real mother was, she was also afraid of being separated from her dad. To keep each other's secrets, they made a pinky promise. Holding Haiju's hand, Chang-hee, who had grown up alone, felt warmth for the first time. He realized he was falling for this thoughtful, beautiful girl. Later, Haiju went to the hospital to visit the still unconscious Inha. At the door, she saw the grief-stricken mother and remembered being told never to come near Inha again. She was about to leave when Inha suddenly woke up. Relieved, the mother embraced her daughter. When Il-mun passed Haiju in the hallway, he mocked her, asking what a beggar was doing there. Haiju argued back, and the commotion was heard inside the room. Having survived a near-death experience together, Inha no longer disliked Haiju. She invited her in to chat, but her mother didn't want them meeting. Inha quickly explained the truth. She had pressured Haiju into driving the yacht to show off to her classmates, and Haiju had actually saved her life. Realizing she had misjudged Haiju, the wealthy mother felt deeply guilty. To make amends, she threw a party and invited Haiju's family. Haiju's father watched the tycoon's affectionate interactions with Inha, then looked at the oblivious Haiju beside him. He wanted so badly to reveal that Haiju was their daughter. He imagined how happy Haiju would be if she were raised as an heiress. To smooth things over, the wealthy mother complimented Haiju's stepmother on raising such a well-behaved daughter. But the stepmother coldly replied that she didn't care for such praise. The wealthy mother was taken aback. Then, to assert dominance, the stepmother ordered Haiju to go tend to her sleeping younger sister. Inha found it strange. Why wouldn't Haiju's mother let her eat? Was she an evil stepmother? That comment infuriated the stepmother. Just as she was about to admit she was indeed Haiju's stepmother, the butler stopped her, drawing everyone's attention. Since when did a butler get to speak out of turn? Only Haiju's father understood why. He pulled the butler into the kitchen and demanded to know if Haiju and Inha were twins. The children were about the same age. Why had the family abandoned one daughter? The butler was speechless. Just then, Chang-hee showed up to say that the stepmother had already left with the younger sister. Worried about Haiju being alone outside, her father rushed out. Meanwhile, the wealthy mother gave Haiju an expensive dress as a gift. As Haiju was trying it on and turned around, her burn scar was exposed on her back. Before the mother could get a good look, Haiju's father arrived and interrupted. Mother and daughter missed their chance to recognize each other. Haiju happily wore the dress home, but her stepmother couldn't stand seeing her in nice clothes and demanded she take it off. That night, Haiju's father watched her sleep and thought about how Inha, also a daughter of wealth, lived in luxury, while Haiju endured constant scolding. To end Haiju's suffering, he decided to reveal the truth. He took out the clothes Haiju had worn as a baby and headed to the estate. But just as the secret was about to come out, he was hit by a car. He never imagined that the accident was a deliberate murder. As it turned out, Haiju's father had approached the wrong person. He believed Haiju was Jang Do-hyun's biological daughter, not knowing that Jang Do-hyun was the man who had killed Haiju's real father years ago, and had taken her biological mother as his own wife. The moment Jang Do-hyun saw the baby sweater, he knew he had to silence the man. He denied the sweater belonged to his lost daughter Yujin and exploded when her father suggested asking his wife. He insisted his daughter was dead and warned him not to reopen old wounds. With no other option, Haiju's father left with the sweater. But the ruthless Jang Do-hyun wasn't about to let him go. He summoned the butler, the same man who had been tasked with disposing of Yujin years ago. Under pressure, the butler confessed he hadn't had the heart to kill the child. He'd handed her off to a friend instead. He'd lied, saying he watched her die, out of fear. Now that Haiju's father had shown up with the sweater, he assumed the man was looking for a payout. But Jang Do-hyun didn't buy the butler's story. He demanded the friend be brought in for a face-to-face confrontation. Knowing that would expose his lie, the butler decided to eliminate Haiju's father first. He got hold of an old truck, swapped the plates, and practiced his hit and run. That night, as Haiju's father was walking home, the butler floored it. Haiju happened to be riding her bike to meet her dad. Seeing the truck heading toward her, her father ran to push her out of the way. The butler swerved and missed Haiju, but slammed straight into her father. He fled the scene. Haiju's father was rushed to the hospital. After hours of surgery, the doctors said there was nothing more they could do. The family should prepare for the worst. When Inha heard about the accident, she insisted her mother take her to the hospital. Haiju held her father's hands and kept talking to him. He briefly regained consciousness. Knowing he didn't have much time, he tried to tell her the truth, but his injuries were too severe. He couldn't get the words out. Just then, the wealthy mother arrived. With a trembling hand, he pointed at her. Haiju turned to look, but in that final moment, all her father could do was shed a single tear before he was gone. Haiju didn't understand what he had meant to say. The only person in the world who truly loved her was dead. Watching Haiju's grief, the wealthy mother quietly left the room. Haiju scattered her father's ashes into the sea, remembering every moment they'd shared. No matter how hard things got, he had always been there to encourage her. Now he was gone, and she didn't know how to face the future, especially with a stepmother who had always wanted her out of the house. Her fears came true just days later when police came to investigate the accident. Under her stepmother's questioning, Haiju admitted her father had been hit while saving her. The stepmother blamed her for his death and threw her out immediately. Haiju fell to her knees, begging to stay, but the woman wouldn't budge. With nowhere else to go, Haiju went to the seaside where her father's ashes had been scattered. She cried and apologized to him. The next day, Changhe found her and carried her home. She had been out in the rain all night and had a high fever. Even so, her stepmother refused to take her in. Haiju apologized and begged not to be kicked out. Mid-sentence, she collapsed. The stepmother, feeling a twinge of guilt, finally let Changhe take her inside to rest. Gangsan, who had also come to check on her, saw Changhe touching Haiju's forehead and felt a pang of jealousy. He pushed Changhe aside and insisted on taking care of her himself. That night, Haiju dreamed of her father. He encouraged her to get better and told her that her stepmother actually cared about her. She had even made her porridge. When Haiju woke, she found a bowl of porridge beside her bed. For a moment, she felt a flicker of warmth from the woman who had been so harsh. But in another room, her stepmother suddenly went into labor. She sent her son to fetch the midwife. Haiju got up to help. She boiled water, and soon a baby's cry filled the house. Holding her newborn sister, Haiju comforted her stepmother. Though they had lost her father, they now had a new baby. She promised to help raise her sister and asked her mother not to be sad anymore. Those words finally melted the stepmother's hardened heart. Just as life was beginning to settle, something unexpected happened. Their village was being forcibly demolished, and the man behind it was Jang Do-hyun. To seize Gongsan's grandfather's shipyard, he had framed the old man for tax evasion, shut down his company, and grabbed his land, which happened to be where Haiju lived. He planned to turn it into a new shipyard. Other villagers received compensation, but since Haiju's family were migrants, they got nothing. The stepmother and her 4 children ended up homeless on the street. While they huddled under a bridge, the wealthy mother's younger sister happened to take shelter there from the rain. When she learned what her brother-in-law had done, she immediately brought the family to the estate. The butler was stunned to see Haiju, the girl whose life he had destroyed, standing there. The sister asked her older sister to take the family in, but the wealthy mother hesitated. The stepmother dropped to her knees, playing up her plight. That's when Changhe stepped in and offered to let them stay in his quarters. Though small, he said he and his father could sleep in the living room. The stepmother grabbed at the lifeline and headed straight for Changhe's place without waiting for the butler's approval. That night, Haiju thanked Changhe for his kindness. But Changhe, who had long had feelings for her, said he was just happy to have her nearby. While hanging up laundry together, he accidentally pulled her into his arms. Ilmun happened to see this and mocked Haiju, calling her family a bunch of beggars shamelessly freeloading at his house. Haiju could take a lot, but not insults to her family. She grabbed a broom and fought back, leaving Ilmun defenseless. The wealthy mother witnessed the whole thing and scolded Haiju for not knowing her place. But she also noticed that Haiju was still wearing her old clothes. When she asked why Haiju wasn't wearing the dress she'd given her, Haiju explained she had sold it to buy food for her mother. Before Haiju could finish, the woman sent her away. The next day, though, she gave Haiju an even prettier dress. Inha praised how beautiful Haiju looked, but Haiju, unused to nice things, felt awkward and tried to take it off. At that moment, Jang Do-hyun walked in and also complimented her. Then his expression changed. He saw the burn scar on her back, the same kind of scar the child he had abandoned years ago had. He suspected Haiju was that child. He found the stepmother and asked if Haiju was her biological daughter. The butler panicked, but the stepmother misunderstood. She thought he was insulting her for being infertile. She insisted Haiju was her own flesh and blood. Still uneasy, Jang Do-hyun apologized on the surface but secretly ordered the butler to get rid of Haiju's family by any means necessary. The butler remembered that Haiju's father had originally come to the city to escape creditors. He made a call. Soon the loan shark showed up. Seeing Haiju in her pretty dress, he tried to assault her. The butler arrived just in time and offered to pay off the family's debt. On one condition, they had to leave the estate. With no money to pay, the stepmother agreed. The next day, the family packed up to leave. Inha cried seeing her friend go. Haiju looked around but didn't see the one person she most wanted to see. Changhe watched from a distance, silently heartbroken. On the way, Haiju asked the driver to stop. She went to the seaside where her father's ashes rested to say a final goodbye. Back at the estate, when the wealthy mother returned from shopping, a maid was complaining that Haiju's family had left behind some belongings. Among them was a yellow sweater, the same one her daughter had been wearing the day she drowned. She asked the maid repeatedly if these things really belonged to Haiju. The maid nodded. The wealthy mother immediately called for the butler. She demanded to know if her daughter had been swept away by the waves, why was her sweater in Haiju's possession? Seeing the butler's nervous reaction, she realized her daughter might still be alive. She asked if Haiju was Yujin. Just as the truth was about to surface, Jang Duhyun stepped in, pretending to console his wife, and sent the butler off to confirm things at Haiju's village home, really a command to eliminate Haiju. The butler understood, but the wealthy mother insisted on going with him. Flustered, the butler excused himself to change clothes and called the loan shark. Under no circumstances could Haiju's family make it back to the village. When the wealthy mother arrived at Haiju's home, no one was there. Haiju's family had been intercepted on the road. The loan shark had taken them to an abandoned factory. His plan was to sell Haiju and kill the rest. After he left, the family frantically dug an escape hole. Haiju's younger sister squeezed through and unlocked the door. But just as they were escaping, the loan shark returned. They hid. To protect her family, Haiju led the men away on her own. The wealthy mother waited all night. Haiju didn't come. By then, Haiju had been chased to a cliff's edge. Facing the roaring sea, she gathered her courage and jumped. The water swallowed her, but with sheer willpower, she fought her way to the surface and swam toward the opposite shore, because her family was waiting for her. 15 years passed. Haiju became a skilled welder, earning a modest wage. After work, she rushed home to take care of her family. Her grown brother was lazy. Her sister was a daydreamer who spent Haiju's hard-earned money at clubs, fantasizing about marrying rich. One night, Haiju stormed into a bar and found her sister dancing with a handsome guy. She grabbed him by the tie and gave him a piece of her mind, not knowing it was Gangsan, her childhood friend. She then yanked her sister by the hair to leave, only to pull off a wig. The whole bar burst out laughing. When Haiju reached for her sister again, Gangsan tried to stop her and got flipped onto his back. She then dumped a bucket of ice on his head and marched out with her sister. In the scuffle, they bumped into a beautiful woman about to enter. The woman was about to scold them but stopped short, intimidated by Haiju's fierce energy. That woman was Inha, Haiju's old friend, there to meet Gangsan. The former friends passed each other without recognizing one another. Back home, Gangsan looked at a pink hair clip in his hand, remembering the day he said goodbye to Haiju years ago. When his grandfather's shipyard was taken over by Jang Duhyun, his grandfather had sent him abroad to study. Before leaving, Gangsan had taken a clip from Haiju's hair as a keepsake. Now he was back, ready to reclaim his grandfather's company from Jang Duhyun, and he couldn't wait to see Haiju again. Haiju, meanwhile, was thrilled. She had finally received an interview invitation from her dream shipyard. She immediately called her boyfriend to share the news. Over the past 15 years, she and Chang-hee had stayed in touch and become a couple. Hearing that Haiju might soon be living in the city, Chang-hee was overjoyed. On the day of the interview, Haiju dressed up and headed to the city. Chang-hee was already waiting at the station. She was so excited to see him that she accidentally broke the heel of her new shoes. He took her shopping, savoring their rare time together. When his father called, he ignored it, missing a family dinner held to celebrate Inha's new restaurant opening. Now a successful prosecutor, Chang-hee had become a desirable match. During the dinner, the wealthy mother mentioned wanting Inha to marry Chang-hee. The room went silent. Everyone stared. Only the butler was secretly thrilled. Unaware of all this, Chang-hee was still out with Haiju. He didn't want to hide their relationship anymore and planned to tell his father. But Haiju disagreed. She wanted to wait until she had a stable job before meeting his family. Right now, passing the interview was what mattered most. The interview day arrived. To Haiju's shock, the interviewer was Ilmun, Jang Duhyun's son. This was the family's company. Seeing Haiju hadn't even finished high school, Ilmun berated the staff for letting someone like her in. But the staff pointed out that Haiju had aced 3 rounds of tests and had over a dozen certifications. Ilmun still refused to accept her. Then Gangsan walked in, having returned from abroad and concealed his identity. He had joined the company as chief supervisor, a role even Jang Duhyun had to respect. Furious that Ilmun's project couldn't even keep up with the blueprints, Gangsan scattered documents across the floor. Startled, Haiju quietly picked them up, hoping to make a good impression. When she looked up, their eyes met. They both remembered the bar incident. Gangsan remarked that his shoulder still hurt. Unsurprisingly, Haiju didn't get the job. But after she left, Gangsan saw her resume and realized the woman he just dismissed was the Haiju he had missed for 15 years. Full of regret, he sent his assistant to find her the next day. Without revealing who he was, Gangsan decided to mess with her a little. He gave her another interview but asked only personal questions, like whether she had a boyfriend, and if not, would she let him be hers. Disgusted by his flirtation, Haiju threw her drink in his face. As she turned to leave, Gangsan grabbed her hand, trying to explain. But she kicked him straight into the water and stormed off, cursing him for toying with her. Just then, she got a call. She had been hired. Now she believed Gangsan really was the chief supervisor. She rushed back to save him from the sea. Seeing her coming, Gangsan pretended to drown. She pulled him ashore, but he wouldn't open his eyes no matter how much she called his name. Panicked, she began CPR. On the second breath, Gangsan leaned in. Haiju realized she'd been played. Just as she was about to punch him, Gangsan blurted out her childhood nickname. Recognition dawned. After all these years, the old friends had finally found each other again. Seeing how happy Haiju was about the job, Gangsan felt his own spirits lift. When Chang-hee heard Haiju had been hired, he invited her to move in with him. But the last time he had introduced Haiju to his father, the butler had strongly objected. Not wanting another awkward encounter, Haiju declined. So Chang-hee brought her to the place they had lived 15 years ago. The man who lived there, Uncle Jingyu, was the one who had helped Haiju's family when they were homeless. He had a room for rent. What neither of them knew was that Jingyu was Haiju's biological father's younger brother. At her father's funeral years ago, he had held baby Haiju in his arms. He had no idea the grown woman standing before him was his own niece. As they talked, a woman who had a crush on Jingyu walked in, the wealthy mother's younger sister. Jealous to see another woman at his place, Jingyu quickly explained and mentioned that Haiju worked at her brother-in-law's company. The sister then remembered the pitiful family huddled under the bridge all those years ago. The next day, Haiju showed up at work, beaming. The wealthy mother's sister came to her older sister's house, drunk. When asked what happened, she said she'd been out drinking with Haiju to celebrate her new job at the family company. The wealthy mother froze. The daughter she had been searching for all these years was working at her own company. She rushed there immediately. Seeing the burn scar on Haiju's back, she remembered her daughter had been scalded in the exact same spot as a baby. She cautiously asked when Haiju had gotten the scar. Haiju didn't know. It had been there as long as she could remember. Not wanting to alarm her, the wealthy mother asked where she lived. She wanted to speak with Haiju's mother to confirm. Innocent Haiju gave her the address. But just as they were about to leave, the butler appeared and stopped Haiju. Eager to verify Haiju's identity, the wealthy mother left without her. The butler took Haiju to the rooftop and demanded to know what she had told the wealthy mother. When he learned the woman hadn't fully confirmed Haiju's identity yet, he relaxed slightly, then slapped Haiju hard. He warned her she wasn't good enough for his son and told her to stay away from Chang-hee. Meanwhile, the wealthy mother went home, retrieved her lost daughter's baby sweater, and set off for Haiju's village. The butler followed, claiming he wanted to visit the widow of an old friend and offering to drive. On the way, Jang Doohyun called. The butler mentioned Haiju, and Jang Doohyun immediately understood. He secretly ordered the butler to handle it, then had HR send over Haiju's file. When the wealthy mother arrived and showed the stepmother the sweater, asking if she recognized it, the woman hesitated. The butler gave her a look. Sensing danger, she lied and said she'd never seen it. The wealthy mother showed her a childhood photo. The stepmother instantly recognized little Haiju but kept up the act. The child her husband had brought home from who knows where was actually an heiress? Still, she denied it. When asked if Haiju was adopted, she finally found her excuse. Haiju was her own flesh and blood, born after 10 months of pregnancy. She accused the wealthy mother of being rude, suspecting other people's children like that, and kicked her out. The wealthy mother was devastated. Her hope of finding her daughter was crushed again. Back home, Jang Doohyun told her he had checked Haiju's file. Her blood type didn't match Eugen's. This time, she believed him. She went outside alone and burned the baby sweater and photos, giving up all hope that her daughter was still alive. Meanwhile, the stepmother called Haiju. Learning she now had a stable job, she brought the whole family to the city the very next day, expecting to live off Haiju's income. That night, watching Haiju wash dishes, the stepmother reflected on how she had treated the girl over the years, yelling at her, hitting her, taking away her chance at school and giving it to her own children. Haiju should have been living a life of luxury, but instead suffered alongside her. Overcome with guilt, the stepmother began to cry. Haiju saw her tears and assumed she was missing her late father. She wrapped her arms around the woman and comforted her. The next day at work, the butler showed up again. Haiju flinched, expecting another slap. But this time, he dropped to his knees. He wept about how hard life had been for him and his son as servants in the wealthy household. The family had approved a marriage between Inha and Chang-hee. He begged Haiju to break up with his son. Heartbroken but wanting the best for Chang-hee's future, Haiju sent him a breakup text. Chang-hee called immediately, but her phone was off. Just when the butler thought he had succeeded, Inha found out her old friend Haiju was working at her father's company. To celebrate, she invited Haiju over for dinner, where both the butler and Chang-hee happened to be. When Inha introduced Haiju to Chang-hee, he said they had actually stayed in touch all along and were dating. The butler lost his composure and berated Chang-hee on the spot. Jang Doohyun noticed everything. After dinner, he called the butler into his study and warned him not to get too ambitious. He would not allow Inha to marry Chang-hee. Enraged, the butler found Haiju on her way home and slapped her. As he grabbed her hair, ready to teach her a lesson, Gangsan appeared. He punched the butler to the ground and was about to hit him again when Haiju stopped him. This was Chang-hee's father. Elsewhere, the loan shark who had once hunted Haiju's family was arrested by prosecutor Chang-hee on loan sharking charges. During interrogation, the man confessed everything. Chang-hee finally learned about Haiju being forced off a cliff and into the sea. He lost control and attacked the man, who then revealed that he had been acting on orders from Chang-hee's own father. Chang-hee couldn't believe it. Gangsan came looking for Chang-hee to settle the score for Haiju. He grabbed Chang-hee by the collar and told him his father had hit Haiju, scolding him for failing to protect the woman he loved. But all Chang-hee could think about was why his father had hurt Haiju's family. He confronted the butler, who put on another act, claiming everything he did was to protect Chang-hee's future. Chang-hee didn't buy it. He packed his bags and prepared to leave. He wanted to run away with Haiju, to stop watching her get hurt, but Haiju couldn't abandon her family. Frustrated, Chang-hee blurted out that the stepmother wasn't even her real mother. Why did she care so much? Those words cut deep. Their conversation was overheard by Haiju's sister, who told their mother about the butler grabbing Haiju and hitting her. Though Haiju wasn't her biological child, the stepmother couldn't stand seeing anyone hurt her. The next day, she marched to the estate and beat the butler senseless. On her way out, she ran into the wealthy mother, who invited her in for a chat. They talked about Haiju again. The wealthy mother apologized for her earlier rudeness. The stepmother asked how she had lost her child. She learned that after the wealthy mother's first husband died, she hadn't had time to care for the little girl properly. While in the butler's care, the child had fallen into the sea. The stepmother understood that kind of pain. Her conscience finally stirred. She couldn't let Haiju keep suffering. Back home, she tried to tell Haiju that the wealthy mother was her real mother, but Haiju cut her off. In her heart, the woman who had merely given birth to her no longer mattered. Through all the hardships, her stepmother had been there. Haiju had long considered her the real mother, and the stepmother had long considered Haiju her real daughter. Until she understood why Haiju had been abandoned, she decided not to bring it up again. One day, the stepmother sought out the wealthy mother's sister, trying to learn why Haiju had been discarded. She deliberately suggested that perhaps the wealthy mother had abandoned her child to marry into money, viewing the baby as a burden. Offended by the accusation against her sister, the younger sister stormed off. She went back to her sister's house and scolded her for sharing family matters with outsiders. She added that regardless of what had happened, her sister shouldn't keep searching for her first husband's child. If the current children found out, how would they feel? Il-mun overheard this. He had always known the wealthy mother wasn't his biological mother. Now he was even more curious. What did any of this have to do with Haiju? One day, Inha hosted a fashion show and invited her good friend Haiju. Seeing the wealthy mother chatting warmly with Haiju, Il-mun immediately sensed something was off. After the event, the wealthy mother approached Haiju again, saying she had something important to discuss. Il-mun overheard and secretly followed them. The wealthy mother told Haiju about losing her daughter years ago. Her daughter had a burn scar on her neck, so when she saw the scar on Haiju's back, it reminded her of Yujin. Haiju suddenly understood the woman's earlier behavior. Could she actually be the wealthy mother's daughter? But the woman said no, their blood types didn't match. Haiju confirmed she was type AB. Realizing it was just a misunderstanding, Haiju didn't press further, but Il-mun wasn't convinced. Back at the office, he offered Haiju a cup of coffee. After she left, he took the cup she had used along with a strand of the wealthy mother's hair to a DNA testing center. The results confirmed that Haiju and the wealthy mother were indeed biologically related. Il-mun was stunned. Soon after, the wealthy mother went to the hospital for a checkup. The doctor mentioned that her blood type was unusual. Her children could potentially have AB blood. This revelation gave her new hope. She went back to confront Haiju's stepmother, who denied everything again. But this time, the wealthy mother had solid evidence. Her daughter's blood type matched Haiju's, and they both had burn scars in the same spot. How could there be so many coincidences? The stepmother had her excuses ready. She claimed to be AB type herself, so of course her child would be too. And plenty of kids have scars on their necks. Did that make them all her daughter? The wealthy mother broke down in tears again. Seeing her pain, the stepmother fell silent. The wealthy mother apologized for the intrusion and left. Back home, the wealthy mother noticed Il-mun had been giving her the cold shoulder lately. She scolded him for being rude, but in Il-mun's mind, he had long viewed her as an enemy, the woman who had stolen his mother's place. Of course, the wealthy mother wasn't that kind of person. She slapped him, but immediately regretted it. The slap only made Il-mun angrier. He shouted at her to go find her daughter Yujin. She stood frozen, wondering how he knew about that. Undeterred by the stepmother's denials, the wealthy mother invited Haiju over for tea. Looking at Haiju, she felt an inexplicable sense of familiarity. Even the scar on her neck seemed so familiar. But Haiju didn't want any ties to the wealthy family. Since she wasn't the woman's daughter, she asked her to please stop bringing it up. As she got up to leave, the wealthy mother secretly plucked a strand of Haiju's hair. She took it, along with the cup Haiju had used, to the testing center. Meanwhile, at Uncle Jingyu's place, Haiju's stepmother spotted a sweet family photo. She immediately recognized the child in it. It was Haiju as a little girl. When Jingyu came home, she asked who was in the photo. With a wistful look, Jingyu explained that the man was his older brother, and the child was his niece Yujin, both gone now. The woman in the photo was his sister-in-law, now the wealthy mother who owned the shipyard. In that moment, everything clicked for the stepmother. Looking at Haiju, who had suffered alongside her all these years, the stepmother couldn't bear it any longer. She finally told Haiju the truth. Her biological mother was the wealthy mother, and her biological father was Dr. Lee, a petroleum research expert. Even Uncle Jingyu, living under the same roof, was her real uncle. Haiju couldn't process this. She thought her stepmother was trying to kick her out again and ran outside to clear her head. The stepmother followed, saying if Haiju didn't believe her, she could go confirm it with her real mother right now. But Haiju refused. To push Haiju toward a better life, the stepmother steeled herself and said some harsh words, forcing Haiju to leave. Haiju cried and asked, "Does blood really matter that much? The years we've spent together are what's important." But the stepmother was determined. Thrown out of the house, Haiju went to the seaside where her father's ashes had been scattered. She had always believed he was her biological father, which was why he loved her so much. Now even that wasn't true. She didn't know whether her fate was good or bad. Without realizing it, she found herself outside the wealthy family's estate. She wanted to see her biological mother. Watching the wealthy mother and Inha share a warm moment, she didn't want to disrupt their happiness and turned to leave. At her lowest point, Haiju remembered what her father had told her. Family isn't just about blood, those who share your struggles are family too. She found hope again, went back to her humble home, and begged her stepmother not to send her away. She didn't want a rich life, she just wanted to be with the family she'd grown up with. Meanwhile, the DNA results came in. The wealthy mother eagerly opened the email. Before she could see the results, Ilmun walked in with a smug look on his face. After he left, she finally looked. The test showed no biological relationship with Haiju. She couldn't accept it. Behind her, Ilmun smiled triumphantly. The wealthy mother went to the beach where her daughter had drowned. She threw away her daughter's childhood shoes, giving up the search for good. As she was leaving, she ran into Haiju. She told Haiju this was where her daughter had died. With her biological mother right there but unable to reveal the truth, Haiju could only comfort her, saying her daughter might still be alive somewhere, living a good life, and wouldn't want to see her mother in so much pain. Watching her real mother walk away in grief, Haiju could only whisper, "I'm sorry." While everyone was preoccupied with Haiju's identity, Chang-hee was quietly working on something big. As a child, he had witnessed Jang Do-hyun beating his father, planting a seed of hatred in his young heart. Now a skilled prosecutor, he had finally gathered enough evidence against Jang Do-hyun. But when he moved to arrest him, his father fell to his knees and warned him, "If you do this, we'll both die." Chang-hee didn't yet know about all the terrible things his father had done with Jang Do-hyun. Ignoring his father's pleas, he went to Jang Do-hyun's office. As Chang-hee slapped the handcuffs on him, Jang Do-hyun showed no fear, only an eerie smile. In the interrogation room, Jang Do-hyun asked Chang-hee, "Do you know why your father opposed your relationship with Haiju?" As Chang-hee stared in confusion, Jang Do-hyun produced a blood-stained photograph from the scene of Haiju's father's car accident 15 years ago. With a triumphant sneer, he said, "Your father is the one who killed Haiju's father with his car." Chang-hee was speechless. To keep Haiju from finding out, he had no choice but to release Jang Do-hyun against his principles. To maintain control over Chang-hee, Jang Do-hyun had his men produce the license plate from the hit and run and an audio recording of the butler. Back then, after the butler drove away in the truck, one of Jang Do-hyun's men had seen him and noticed he hadn't changed the plates afterward. The man reported this to Jang Do-hyun, who discovered the butler's secret. Chang-hee walked outside like a lost soul. Now he finally understood why his father had always opposed his relationship with Haiju. Realizing his own father had killed Haiju's father, his knees buckled and he nearly collapsed. He didn't know how to face Haiju anymore. Chang-hee confronted his father about why he had done it. Facing his only family, the butler lied again, claiming Haiju's father had been blackmailing him for money. He pulled down his pants to reveal a gunshot wound on his thigh, saying Haiju's father had shot him and threatened to kill him if he didn't pay up. Finally, to justify himself, the butler said he had killed Haiju's father to protect Chang-hee. He had no choice. The butler kept lying to his son, thinking he was protecting him. He didn't realize he was destroying Chang-hee's life step by step. The next day, Chang-hee reported to his superiors that he hadn't found sufficient evidence against Jang Do-hyun. He also submitted his resignation. Then he went to Jang Do-hyun's office and said he would take his father and leave. But there was no way the cunning tycoon would let them go. He was afraid Chang-hee might turn on him someday. Chang-hee refused to spend his life serving Jang Do-hyun like his father had. He found Haiju and tried to take her abroad to start a new life. Haiju was bewildered as he dragged her to the airport, but she was too loyal to her family to abandon them for love. As they argued, Jang Do-hyun called Chang-hee and said he had just sent Haiju a text message. "Go ahead and try to leave," he taunted. Haiju opened her phone and saw a photo of a blood-stained license plate. Before she could make out the numbers, Chang-hee snatched the phone and smashed it on the ground. Haiju was confused by his sudden anger. Chang-hee wanted to explain but couldn't get a word out. Watching him become a stranger, Haiju quietly walked away. When Chang-hee heard his father's weakened voice on the phone, he obediently returned to Jang Do-hyun's office and knelt on the ground, begging for forgiveness and promising to do whatever he was told. But deep inside, he had already begun plotting his revenge. Haiju had always been the light in his life. Now Chang-hee was abandoning that light. He burned all the letters he had exchanged with Haiju, saying goodbye to his past. Then he found Haiju and forced himself to end things. He told her that all these years, he had only dated her out of pity. She wasn't good enough for him anymore. Two people who had loved each other deeply parted ways. To bring down Jang Do-hyun, Chang-hee decided to first marry Inha, then frame Il-mun, and finally take over his position as general manager. Under Chang He's intense pursuit, innocent Inha quickly fell for him, and they got married. Watching them wed, Haiju was devastated. She went home and burned all their letters too. Seeing Haiju's heartbreak, her stepmother understood all too well what she had been through. She decided it was time to reveal Haiju's true identity. She went to the estate and told the wealthy mother that Haiju was her daughter. But the wealthy mother said she and Haiju had already done a DNA test. The results didn't match. Haiju wasn't her daughter. She didn't know Ilmun had switched the results. Frustrated, the stepmother went back home and found Uncle Jingyu. She told him that Haiju was clearly his biological niece, but the wealthy mother said the test results didn't confirm it. Yet the child in the family photo was definitely Haiju. Jingyu immediately sensed something was wrong. He found the doctor and confirmed that Ilmun had tampered with the results. Jingyu went to the wealthy mother and told her what Ilmun had done. Then he asked for a few strands of her hair. He would conduct the DNA test himself. The results came back quickly. The wealthy mother and Haiju were indeed biologically related. Jingyu rushed to show her. After more than 20 years of searching, Haiju and her mother were finally reunited. A single word, "Mom," broke the wealthy mother completely. She pulled Haiju into her arms and sobbed uncontrollably. The long-separated mother and daughter had endless things to say. The wealthy mother wanted to fulfill her duties and bring Haiju home, but Jingyu stopped her. She didn't know the truth behind her daughter's disappearance. No matter what, she insisted on taking Haiju back. She wanted to cook her a warm meal with her own hands. Jingyu had no choice but to let Haiju leave first. He pulled the wealthy mother aside and revealed the truth. Haiju had gone missing because Jang Duhyun had ordered the butler to kill her, all so he could marry the wealthy mother. When Haiju was 13, the butler had the loan shark try to sell her, but she escaped. The good son, Ilmun, had secretly switched the test results, and her current husband had murdered Haiju's biological father. Their conversation was overheard by Haiju, who hadn't gone far. Haiju couldn't believe it. Her father's murderer was the sanctimonious Jang Duhyun. The wealthy mother was even more shattered. The man she had shared a bed with for over 20 years was a monster hiding behind a mask. Jingyu warned her, if she insisted on bringing Haiju into that house, she would be throwing her daughter into the fire. Just then, Jang Duhyun called, asking his wife to come home for a date. He had no idea she now knew his true face. For her daughter's safety, the wealthy mother had to go back alone. But Haiju didn't want her to. She had already lost her biological father. She was terrified her mother would be killed too. She didn't understand why they couldn't just call the police. Jingyu explained that the statute of limitations had passed. Without ironclad evidence, they couldn't touch Jang Duhyun. To avoid raising his suspicions, the wealthy mother had to return. Before leaving, Haiju told her mother that if she ever got tired of that life, she could come live with her. The wealthy mother held back her tears and left. On the way home, she replayed everything in her mind, hating herself for living under the same roof as two murderers for so long. When she arrived and looked at the luxurious mansion, it made her sick. Then the even more nauseating Jang Duhyun walked over. She composed herself and greeted him with a smile, fighting back her pain. She went with him to the beach for their date. He even talked about growing old together. Maybe he really did love her, he just chose the wrong way to show it. Back home, she finally dropped the mask. She pounded her pillow to vent, stuffing her hand in her mouth to keep from making any sound. The next day, she secretly met Haiju at a restaurant. To make up for lost time, she ordered a table full of food, each dish filled with her love for her daughter. Watching them together, the scene was warm and beautiful. Meanwhile, Chang-hee had been looking for a chance to take down Jang Duhyun. He finally found his opportunity. He planned to use Ilmun to drive a wedge between father and son. Through Chang-hee, Jang Duhyun learned that his own son had given evidence of his crimes to the prosecutors in a bid for control of the company. While Ilmun was smugly sitting in his office, Jang Duhyun burst in and punched him. Ilmun realized he had been exposed and dropped to his knees, begging for forgiveness. But his father was a man who would betray anyone for profit. Seeing his father about to kill him, Ilmun blurted out the secret he had been hiding. Haiju was the wealthy mother's biological daughter. Years of effort ruined in an instant. Jang Duhyun was so furious he wanted to bury the butler alive. Facing death, the butler finally confessed the truth. Years ago, he hadn't had the heart to kill the wealthy mother's daughter. He had given the 2-month-old baby to a friend in the countryside to raise. He thought he could get away with it, but after more than 20 years, Haiju had found her way back to her mother. Jang Duhyun didn't know that Haiju and the wealthy mother had already reunited. He threatened the butler to keep the secret or he would kill both him and his son. Furious, Jang Duhyun went home to probe his wife, pretending to be upset. "You're sad about losing your daughter. Now I'm heartbroken because of my foolish son." He mentioned that Ilmun had tried to turn him in to get the inheritance. The wealthy mother sensed he was fishing for information. She pretended to be shocked. "Isn't Yujin dead? I've long forgotten about that child." Jang Duhyun, believing she still didn't know about Haiju, smiled in satisfaction. He told her that even if the whole world betrayed him, as long as she was by his side, everything would be fine. She pretended to comfort him, but inside, she was already planning her revenge. One day, she made a big meal for Ilmun. He thought she was showing concern and asked her to plead with his father to let him back into the company. But in the next breath, she turned on him, cursing him for betraying his own father. "I raised you for over 20 years, and this is how you repay me?" In truth, she was condemning him for switching the DNA results. Ilmun caught her meaning and dropped the act. threatening to reveal her secrets to his father. But the wealthy mother was more ruthless. She grabbed a shard of broken glass and prepared to hurt herself to frame him. Terrified by her madness, Il-moon fled. She then called Jang Do-hyun. Hearing his wife crying, he rushed home and saw blood on her hand. She told him that after learning about Il-moon's betrayal, she had scolded him, and he had attacked her. Enraged, Jang Do-hyun found his son and punched him. He told Il-moon he would never tolerate anyone hurting his woman, not even his own son. He threw Il-moon out. Watching him get kicked out, the wealthy mother felt a quiet satisfaction. One day, she took Haiju to pay respects at Dr. Lee's grave, Haiju's biological father. Haiju vowed to fulfill his unfinished dream, finding the oil field he had discovered. Because of this trip, Jang Do-hyun found a train ticket to Seoul in her purse when she got home. Suspicious, he ordered the butler to secretly monitor her every move. If he failed again, he would be sent to hell. As soon as the wealthy mother left to meet Haiju, the butler followed. Seeing them together, he immediately reported to Jang Do-hyun, who feared losing his wife because of Haiju. He ordered his men to kidnap Haiju and send her abroad. History was repeating itself. His men found Haiju just after she had parted from her mother. They lied, saying Jang Do-hyun wanted to see her, and tricked her into the car, then headed for the airport. Chang-hee, who had overheard Jang Do-hyun's plan, called to warn her. At the airport, Haiju pretended to go to the restroom and escaped. She called Gangsan to pick her up. She was spotted, but Gangsan arrived just in time to rescue her. They realized Jang Do-hyun knew everything. The wealthy mother blamed herself for failing to protect Haiju. Haiju worried it would be even more dangerous for her mother to go back and asked her to stay. But the wealthy mother already had a plan to handle Jang Do-hyun. Il-moon's credit cards had all been frozen by the wealthy mother. He blamed her for everything and told her he had switched the DNA results and revealed Haiju's identity to his father, thinking it would give him leverage. He didn't realize he had walked right into her trap. After getting rid of Il-moon, the wealthy mother went to confront Jang Do-hyun. She slapped him hard. Stunned, he listened as she raged. "So you knew all along that Haiju was my daughter, and you pretended you didn't. But Il-moon told me everything today." Jang Do-hyun tried to make excuses, but she gave him no chance. She used this as her reason to leave. She was going to live with Haiju. After more than 20 years apart, mother and daughter could finally be together openly. With nowhere to direct his fury, Jang Do-hyun took it all out on the butler. He said if the butler hadn't been soft and given Yujin away, none of this would have happened. Chang-hee overheard the beating. Hearing his father's cries of pain, he had to hold back his anger. He had finally gained Jang Do-hyun's trust and become acting chairman. He was one step away from taking him down. He had to endure. The butler dragged himself home. Seeing his son approach, he tried to pretend he had just fallen. But Chang-hee told him he had heard everything. He demanded to know who Yujin was and why his father was being threatened and beaten. This time, the butler had no more lies. He told Chang-hee everything and dropped to his knees, saying he couldn't live like this anymore, being abused and humiliated. He begged Chang-hee to avenge him. The butler had finally come to his senses. Chang-hee stood frozen, knowing the whole truth at last. The next day, the butler went to the wealthy mother and confessed his crimes. He told her that Jang Do-hyun had killed her first husband, Dr. Lee, and tried to kill Haiju, not just because he wanted to marry her. It was all about a mysterious roll of film. The break-in at her home years ago had been orchestrated by Jang Do-hyun to steal it from Dr. Lee. Now the wealthy mother fully understood the depths of Jang Do-hyun's ambition. To find out what was on that film that had driven him to such evil, she packed her bags and returned to him. Seeing her come back, he transformed instantly, kneeling to greet her. But she had another purpose. She demanded he compensate Haiju for his crimes by giving her shares in the shipyard. Otherwise, she wouldn't come home. Jang Do-hyun loved her to the bone. He agreed immediately. Meanwhile, Haiju partnered with Gangsan to start an oil drilling company to fulfill her biological father's dream. They worked tirelessly. Since breaking up with Chang-hee, Haiju had grown closer to Gangsan. Finally realizing he had been quietly waiting for her all these years, she began to develop feelings for him. She gave him a scarf, and once Gangsan understood what it meant, he wore it everywhere, even at meals. One day, Jang Do-hyun was hospitalized for high blood sugar. Il-moon overheard his father discussing the share transfer. He learned that the shares originally meant for him had all been given to Haiju. He went home to confront the wealthy mother but left empty-handed. Now he was truly furious. He vowed to make her regret it. Il-moon went to the company Haiju and Gangsan had founded, planning to steal her share certificates. By accident, he set the office on fire. Terrified by the growing flames, he fled. Haiju arrived just then, saw the fire, and rushed in to put it out. But the smoke overwhelmed her and she passed out. Gangsan found her just in time and got her to the hospital. While Jang Do-hyun was hospitalized, the wealthy mother snuck into his office to open his safe and retrieve the film. She couldn't get the combination right. Then her phone rang. Haiju was in the hospital. She rushed over. Fortunately, Haiju only had minor injuries. A blood test showed slightly high blood sugar. She was resting. The wealthy mother then went to check on Jang Do-hyun. The doctor said he was recovering but recommended his children get tested too, since high blood sugar can be hereditary. The wealthy mother froze. She excused herself to the restroom, trembling uncontrollably, muttering, "No, it can't be. Could Haiju actually be Jang Do-hyun's biological daughter?" To ease her fears, she secretly went to Haiju's room while she was out with Gangsan and took her hairbrush. She also took Jang Do-hyun's toothbrush. The results came back soon. Haiju and Jang Jang Do-hyun were biologically related. Terrified, the wealthy mother dropped the report on Haiju's bed and fled the room, passing Haiju on her way back from being discharged. In the bathroom, she leaned over the toilet and vomited. A long-buried memory surfaced. Years ago, Jang Do-hyun had been secretly in love with her. One night, while Dr. Lee was away on business, a drunk Jang Do-hyun had broken into her home. Shortly after, Haiju was born. The wealthy mother had always suspected Haiju was his daughter and had resented the baby. She couldn't even bring herself to hold her when she cried. Then one day, Dr. Lee brought home a DNA test proving Haiju was their child. Only then did she let go of her doubts. Now she realized that test had been forged. Dr. Lee had loved her and loved Haiju, even knowing she might not be his. Haiju returned to her room and saw the report on the bed. It confirmed she was Jang Do-hyun's biological daughter. She was stunned. How did she suddenly have another biological father? The wealthy mother came back from the bathroom. Haiju snatched the report and demanded to know what was going on. Unable to explain, the woman could only say, "It's not possible," and ran out. The wealthy mother wandered the streets like a ghost. Haiju chased after her. They sat down in a cafe. Haiju begged her mother to tell her everything, promising she could handle it. The wealthy mother had no choice but to tell the whole story. When she was young, she and Jang Do-hyun had been childhood sweethearts. But because his family was poor and hers was wealthy, her father disapproved and forced his family out of town. Later, Jang Do-hyun became rich and married someone else. After his wife died, he came back for her, but by then she had married Dr. Lee. Jang Do-hyun wouldn't give up. One drunken night, he broke into her home. Only yesterday, when she learned that both Haiju and Jang Do-hyun had high blood sugar, did the old nightmare resurface, and she ordered the DNA test. After hearing the truth, Haiju made her decision. Even if Jang Do-hyun was her biological father, she would never acknowledge that she carried the blood of such an evil man. She would only accept Dr. Lee, who had loved her, and the adoptive father who had raised her. She told her mother to forget the test results, treat it all as a bad dream. Mother and daughter embraced, choosing to leave this behind. Haiju continued working with Gangsan to realize Dr. Lee's dream. Their new drilling technology beat out Jang Do-hyun's company, winning the oil exploration rights. At the same time, Chang-hee found his chance to bring down Jang Do-hyun. He had his assistant secretly deliver evidence of Jang Do-hyun's crimes to the police. The company was headed for bankruptcy. Only then did Jang Do-hyun learn from his secretary that Chang-hee, the man he trusted most, had been plotting against him all along. He grabbed the butler to use as leverage against Chang-hee. Just as he was about to kill Chang-hee, the butler threw himself in front of his son and took the fatal blow. As Jang Do-hyun moved to strike again, the police arrived. He fled. Before dying, he wanted to see the wealthy mother one last time. When he found Haiju there too, he blamed her for everything he had lost. He grabbed her by the throat and started choking her. Just as Haiju was about to lose consciousness, the wealthy mother returned. She shouted at him to stop and revealed the truth. Haiju was his biological daughter. Jang Do-hyun didn't believe her. He thought it was a stalling tactic. She had no choice but to tell him what he had done to her that night. If he didn't believe her, he could ask the doctors. He rushed to the hospital. When he saw the test results, he walked outside and collapsed to the ground, marveling at life's cruel irony. He realized he had lost everything. He decided to end his own life. Before he died, he sent Haiju the film he had stolen from Dr. Lee. It contained the exact location of the oil field, and a letter of remorse. As he was about to jump into the sea, Haiju arrived. She chose to forgive him. She called out to him, "Dad." That single word gave Jang Do-hyun peace. He jumped into the sea, taking all his sins with him. Perhaps that was the only ending he deserved. Chang-hee moved to the countryside and opened a small law practice. In-ha, pushing the now wheelchair-bound butler, came to find him. In that moment, Chang-hee understood. He had used In-ha as a pawn for revenge, betraying someone who had truly loved him. They embraced warmly. There was hope for them yet. With the film Dr. Lee left behind, Haiju found the oil field and fulfilled his dream. She also found her own happiness. Gangsan placed an engagement ring on her finger. And so concludes the story of the Korean drama May Queen. Thank you for watching. EMD no K-drama. Please follow my YouTube and TikTok channels. See you next time.